My name is Erica Travia. I am the creator and director of Arcade. The origin story of Arcade was drastically different from today's story. So when I created Arcade, I wanted it specifically to be in our senior capstone project. However, unfortunately, I did not get nominated, but that was a blessing in disguise, and that kind of made me want to do it independently.
So whenever we first started, we really didn't have precedent for how to run things and how to set things up. So Erica and I, whenever we were first starting Arcade, we kind of started from scratch. With our film, unlike SCAD capstones, we didn't have a limit on how much time our film could be, and we didn't have a limit on who we could invite onto our crew, and also how much crew we could have. Arcade really didn't have any professor guidance either. We had a few professors critique our storyboards, but past that point, we were pretty much on our own. So we really relied on student expertise and critique to get through the majority of our film, which I think also made us really unique, but also presented certain challenges for us to overcome as well.
When I first pitched Arcade back in 2021, fall of 2021, it was really different. Milo was always the same character. Milo was always that anxious college student. However, Annie went through so many revisions. The first recording of Annie, I guess, was this yandere girl. She was very normal. She just followed Milo around from school back home and then to the arcade until, I went through different revisions of, hey, let's make her, psycho. Let's make her have like pink skin and like neon hair and just wacky clothing. And then until we finally made Annie the way she is now. I believe one of our character designers who created Annie said like, oh, it was referenced off of a ringmaster, meaning in control. Looking back at Annie's old designs and now, I'm like, damn, thank God we went on her current style, because it's just so iconic. She is literally iconic.
So one of the biggest changes that were made to Arcade was that Milo used to have a friend named Mindy, and she basically was the human connection that he needed to basically ground himself. So when we were talking about how we thought the film was missing something, Grace had mentioned that like, oh, I think he needs a friend. And thus was the creation of Eric, who in the beginning was named Max. We changed it because we didn't want to have two M names. Their friendship was so important to me. It like got it in the world. The writer's room were definitely some of the funnest parts of the story meeting, because it was just, how can we make this better? How can we make this more succinct? How can we make this make sense, my insane ramblings?
The film had mostly been storyboarded out when I had started. We were able to restructure it in a way that was more conducive to the story we wanted to tell. All of the late nights just in the writer's rooms, especially when we were talking about how to make Annie more creepy and more analog horror like we wanted her to be. I remember doing these crazy hand things for people. It felt more like hanging out with friends, having fun in a safe group of people where we could just artistically come together and make something great.
And just seeing the storyboards I did for a class project, and now I'm just like, this has changed so much, but the theme was still there. I think as a director, even though that I was the one that created it, I still had the open mindset of letting people say oh, well, why don't we change it to this part and that part? Because at the end of the day, that's what creating a film is the collaborative experience of making this film better. The theme of Arcade is kind of going through a heavy theme of anxiety and mental disorders. And throughout the film, Milo, our main character, is going through it by getting followed by Annie, which is a manifestation of Milo's anxiety. I really wanted to push that theme and saying that this is how important mental health is. However, at the end of the day, just like what Milo went through, there are people in your life that are here to support you. Understand that how mental health is very important, and you have people who are here to help you and to support you no matter what.
I think this film brings something really unique to this sort of genre of personified mental illnesses and emotions, where you see a lot of sort of the same thing over and over again usually, but I think this film taking it to sort of like a horror element with this like psychedelic aspect brings something really interesting and new to this genre that I think really makes it stand out against other of these like short films, and especially indie films. I think with Arcade, we were going for some of the smoother animation style, but we were able to bring in a lot of interesting shot compositions to try and achieve this creepy effect, especially with Annie. I was able to animate this shot where it's Annie like crawling up from within an arcade machine, and taking some of the reference video for that was a lot of fun to try and get the movement right. It was like thinking like zombie, thinking like she's got these long limbs and long nails that are like tracing across things.
A lot of the differences in animation really came out in Annie and how she moved. We had a lot of really smooth shots, but also coupled with very sporadic movements from her. And I feel like that just really helped with our horror elements that come out in the film. I have a specific shot that I animated where Annie's neck like is broken and it snaps back and she flies forward. So that was really fun to kind of mess with. Those really, really quick movements definitely helped push the horror element of our film.
The psychedelic backgrounds were very inspired by Midnight Gospel and Steven Universe. What I did was I broke down the styles of both Midnight Gospel and Steven Universe, and then came up with some of the commonalities between them and how we can combine them to make the unique arcade style. My favorite part of the film, I think, was seeing the psychedelic environments animated.
I have a few experiences of compositing animations, and I would say it's generally a very rewarding position to see everything coming all together and enhancing the visuals and really bringing out what we were anticipating. And when it comes to arcade, I think that the psychedelic scene was a very interesting sequence to work on as a compositor. So especially that part, seeing it all come together with a lot of different teammates' efforts, that was something that I'll definitely hold memorable for a long time. Definitely our team focused on trying to enhance and differentiate the visuals and the motives from the psychedelic sequence from the mundane everyday life sequence from when Milo was playing games with Eric, when he steps into the arcade and then he initiates the psychedelic sequence. So our focus on that was not only to make sure that the animation and the backgrounds that a lot of artists worked on blend really well, but it was also to accentuate the build-up and the tension going towards the psychedelic scene. And when it reaches the psychedelic scene, that scene overall has a very high contrast value, high saturation that makes the visual very flashy and very overwhelming in a way to appeal the message of how our main character is feeling at that moment.
So my first involvement with arcade began in early February of 2023. I joined around the same time as our other lead compositor, Yona, and there was a lot of collaboration between us in the beginning to figure out what we wanted arcade to look like. Of course, we knew we were going to go for this very 80s kind of retro video game aesthetic, and it also provided a lot of fun opportunities for lighting, especially in those scenes that are in the arcade where there's just a ton of stuff coming at you. And so it was very fun to be able to build that style, and eventually we were able to build this wonderful team of compositors as well. I think my favorite part of working on arcade was just seeing everybody come together and make something. It seems so simple, but it's just so cool. I mean, we had people with a ton of different backgrounds in the compositing department especially. Some people were just picking up After Effects for almost the first time and discovering all of these new amazing things they could do with it and creating some awesome work. and being able to build up this skill set. And there were other people as well who were very experienced in After Effects already, who were responsible for teaching me compositing when I originally started. And so to be able to work with all of these wonderful people, it was just such a great atmosphere, and I loved seeing all of that work come together into this amazing film.
My favorite part of the final film, it's like the part before it's done is my favorite part. It's like seeing everything come together. I've been working on this film for a full year now, almost, and our release date is set to be around the time that we started work on Arcade. So to see everything finally come together, from visual development all the way through compositing, has been so incredibly rewarding.
The best experience for me came near the end when we were having an all-crew meeting. Just seeing some of the clips of our completed shots, and also just seeing lots of nice comments from the rest of our crew, and just them talking about how it helped them improve as creators.
I would just say, just being able to work on something like this is really nice, because I feel like I haven't been as a lead on any kind of project yet, so this is my first go at it.
I do appreciate that Arcade has given me an opportunity to become a writer, I guess, and get more confident in my ability to write stories and write scripts.
The psychedelic sequence has the visuals, what makes Arcade unique. And as a compositor with all the other compositors working on the film, I think that's the part that we poured in a lot of time experimenting, trying new stuff, and trying to enhance the visuals to, make it a really unique and captivating visual.
I think one of my favorite parts of the final film is actually the arcade section that comes just after the psychedelic sequence. As much as I love the psychedelic sequence, and it took a lot of work from all of the compositors to be able to put that together, I think there is also something really special about just the arcade in general. You have a ton of different lighting sources and lighting opportunities, whether it be the titles of the arcade cabinets or the screens or the overhead lights, and I think the way that our compositing team was able to combine all of those seamlessly, the oranges and the blues and the greens and the pinks, and make something that looks so soft and comforting and beautiful is just incredible. So huge shout outs to the compositing team who helped across the entire film. You all are amazing, and it was truly such an honor to be able to work with you.
Since then, it's been a wild ride, and it's been super fun, and I've loved learning and joining the team and being friends with everybody and everything that it's turned into.
One of my favorite parts about the final product was the ending, when Annie breaks the fourth wall, because I really wanted that to be in the final. I had that idea in the beginning as well, because I wanted to indicate that, like, hey, everybody, the audience has anxiety. We can't just forget about it. We worked so hard for this film, and I wanted to see it end, and I wanted to see it successful, and that's where it is now. It's something that I'm deeply, deeply in love with, and the team also loved it, no matter how much pain and struggle that we went through. This film taught me so many things, because it was my first time directing. This taught me how to really let yourself be out there. Kind of the general thing is to just go for it. You just never give up, because at the end of the day, the end product will be so worth it.